Are you modeling the behavior that you say you demand? Would you answer that customer call if it got concerned to the point where your managers and everybody in your leadership team that you've empowered believes you need to take the call? Will you still take it? And if you won't, what is the model that you're setting?
Welcome to the Lion's Den, hosted by Lance Bachmann.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Lion's Den. I'm Bill Rossell, the Digital Shark, and I am here today with somebody that I am extremely pumped to be on the Den with. The big cat's out of the office, taking a couple of days spring break with his family, and I have the unique pleasure of being able to be present and excited for a good hour to bring to our audiences out there. Mr. Julian Scadden, from the CEO and president of the Nexstar Network. Julian, welcome to the Den.
Thank you, Bill. Happy to be in the house with the big cats.
All right, there you go. Well, first and foremost, I would love for us to tell a little bit about your story, but I got to tell you about a story that just happened to me as of recently.
All right.
So I've been in digital marketing for almost 20 years. I've met with hundreds, thousands of home services, HVAC, plumbers, electricians, painters, roofers, the home services space as a whole.
Got it.
And I've helped them in growing their business through great digital marketing. Okay. I had never, ever, ever been on an actual sales call for a digital marketer. So last week, I went to see one of our clients down in North Carolina.
Okay.
We go to see them, and I asked them, I said, I really want to see the process of lead comes in, technician goes out, services the client, determines that the client needs a comfort consultant. Comfort consultant then goes and establishes a new system opportunity.
Right.
Soup to nuts.
Yep.
I got to see it and it blew me away. Like, if I would have known what I saw there 20 years ago, I would have got into the trades, because it was the first time, like, outside of the restaurant business, that I'd seen you had a raw product, you took, you encapsulated it, you made it right, you serviced it, and then you put a new product in front of the client, all in a period of about 2 hours.
Right.
And to me, it was like, it was exhilarating. And I really, truly, I think if more people knew what that thrill of what the trades is really all about, and people call it the trades, I like to call it essential workers now. That are servicing what we need as an organization and a country. It was really, really cool experience that gave me new thought processes that I had never even remotely thought of. And so when I was thinking about today, I was like, I can't wait to tell Julian this story of me being out, like, walking around the house, measuring the house, looking at the air conditioning unit. Now, I wasn't doing anything, but the bottom line is I was watching that whole process, and it was like nothing I had ever seen before. It was very cool.
I love what you're bringing up here, and what you made me think of, though, with, the hospitality or restaurant analogy. Similarly, to technicians, fall in love with the dish, because it can become Groundhog's Day. It can feel like you're starting to do the same thing over and over again. And here you are, the first time that you're seeing, I don't know, a steak made by this famous chef. You're going, this is awesome. Don't lose your passion for the dish, boys, and ladies, you're out there doing this work. And just because you've done it 100 times, present it every time as if, the end user, this is their first serving. This is the first time they're getting served that. And for you, that's what I'm getting, is the excitement of your first time sitting there seeing it. And that's the difference in our industry, of the folks who can keep it fresh, have the passion for it, love the ingredients, understand the food allergies, again, making these analogies and delivering it. Yeah, it is exhilarating. It's exhilarating. You have a choice. You can either be exhilarated or exhausted. And the ones who strive are the ones who are exhilarated, because they know they're providing comfort, safety, health. No longer, to your point and your choice of language, is this just something I'd like to have, and we're recognized for that, and I'm proud of that. And I'm glad that you got out in the field, man.
It was very cool, and I got to come back and tell my team how this particular space, home services, and today I want to talk about home services in general,
Yeah.
I know that, and I want to get in a little bit of your journey. You obviously you're the president and CEO of Nexstar, which is, and I'll let you tell a little bit about it, but
Sure.
I want to talk about the home services space, not just Nexstar,
Got
and
it.
what makes great ownership, leadership, training, coaching, and
Okay.
development. So give our audience, which, we 40 to 50,000 views on any given episode that we put out. Tell us who Julian is and give us a little bit of your story.
Sure. Yeah. I'll start with me, and that way you can understand the perspectives from which I'll speak. You're looking at the bona fide, certified CEO, president of Nexstar Network. Hey, you're also looking at a high school dropout. You're also looking at somebody that came from the streets. You're also looking at somebody who started as an apprentice, a ditch digger, a tool runner, an installer, service calls, call center. And that's how I came up fresh out of high school. I was fortunate to work with a business. It was a mom and pop. And I was digging, kind of shoring up sewer lines, doing some digging. And that company was purchased by a major corporation, and I worked there for 8 years. And so I learned the residential services of plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical from that corporation. And it was a great time of learning. It was a great time of learning what I align with, as well as the things that I didn't align with, especially as you speak to leadership and culture. And there's a lot of ways to get to the bottom line. So I did that for about 8 years. And
that was in Aurora, Colorado, right?
there you go. Thank you. Yeah, that's in Aurora, Colorado. We can see the mountains from there. It's a beautiful spot. And but I hit a wall. Again, I didn't align with the culture there. I was a young man. I was learning business, and then I was recruited away to another business in the industry who were Nexstar members. So I'll pause right here just to say that Nexstar Network is a member-owned organization, meaning there's 800 members today, over 800. Each one of them are shareholders. There's no one person getting a payout. Me as the president CEO, I don't get the payout. We're here to serve our members. So I just mentioned that, and we'll get back to that.
They keep you in your job, as well as potentially could say you're out of your job.
Yes, our members.
Your members.
Yeah, for sure. That's my boss. That's who I report to exactly. And I joined this other company that was Nexstar members, and I instantly noticed the culture is totally different. Now, again, remember, high school, fresh out of high school, straight into the other corporation, and there's a sharp elbow tenor. Profit at all costs, keep driving people till they leave, doesn't matter. Then I go to this other business, and very thoughtful owners, very thoughtful leadership, meaning personally, they're investing in me, they're sending me to training, they're doing the weekly one-to-one, checking in on me. And I go, what the heck is going on here? And I go to a Nexstar training, and I start to meet other Nexstar businesses. And eventually I went on to partner with a gentleman, and we were a Nexstar company. And my business coach is my predecessor, the person, the former CEO, the first employee, the first CEO of Nexstar was my business coach as I became a Nexstar member starting a business. And that was in Atlanta. And I got to know him because of the way that he helped transform our business. I wanted to be a coach in these trades. I did that on my own for about a year and a half until Nexstar called up, let me know there was an opportunity to coach with them. I jumped on it. I relocated to Minnesota to do it. So I've done coaching now with Nexstar. I've done training. So that's a different part of the organization. I was the operations manager and now president and CEO. So there's the quick version. And we can unpack wherever you like, but just that's the perspective. That's who you're talking to today.
I'm going to come back to that kind of dissecting of your career along the way, because you touched base on every single touch point that somebody in the home service space can have as a great organization. You have your technicians, then you have your leadership, you have training, you need all those operations, you need all those different components to be not a successful trade, but a successful business.
Yes.
No matter what business, whether you're a digital marketing company, whether you're a truck wrap company, or whether you are in an HVAC industry, it's incredible to know that some of these businesses are hundreds of millions of dollars. And, when we did our original pre-call, I was like, I know the average Nexstar member is doing over $8 million in revenue annually. And there's 800 members, and some of them are in the $400-500 million range. We're talking billions of dollars.
We are.
I mean, it's a serious business that requires serious leadership. It requires serious execution, and it requires discipline to get to those levels. And we're talking a little bit about not being about the motivation and, hey, rah, rah, do those type of things, but it's about being disciplined in your actions. This morning, when I get up, I want to get on the Peloton. I have to be disciplined about it every day. Okay. because now my little rings on my iWatch put me in a situation. If I don't close those rings, I feel like I failed. I'm disciplined
Oh, they got you.
in that activity.
Yeah.
But before I get into all that, I always want to start off a den with some rapid fire questions.
Yeah, I've seen that.
All right,
Mhm.
rapid fire questions, right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things, and I'm going to be willing to bet that person that recruited you, that your predecessor and Jack Tester,
Mm.
and we're going to probably talk. I bet he was a big mentor in your life, and
Oh, yeah.
he's been the face of Nexstar for a long period of time, and he's still involved in the organization on the coaching
Yes,
and
he is.
leadership side.
Yes, he is.
So, I think one of the things is that people don't really know who Julian is.
Right.
And, now that we have these opportunities and forums and podcasts and Lions Dens, we have the opportunity to share content and information in a way we never shared it before.
Yeah.
And so I always want to say, let me let the audience, okay, know a little bit about who Julian is. So I put together some rapid fire questions for you, okay, that dinner with anybody, who would it be?
This one's going to hit you a little heavy, so just know that. No, I'm saying it for a reason. My son in his mid-20s, it would be him for sure. He passed recently within the past 2 years from a drug overdose. Boom. How's that for a heavy one? I just want to say that I share that with people to understand that there are people out there that have been through it. And if you ever feel alone as a parent, if you've ever lost a child, and especially if you've lost a child to an overdose or drug addiction, I want to take this moment. I'm sorry I had to take this platform to share with you, but there isn't anything I wouldn't give for another moment with him. So love on your children, give people their flowers while they're here. And that'd be my guy. I would just want one more dinner with him.
You definitely threw a heavy one, and I'm sorry for your loss, but
Thank you.
it's a scenario where obviously spreading that information to people gives them a strong understanding why you're the person that you are.
And the intent is that there's a community. Lean on others. Can't do this alone.
So if you were to go, when you go out to dinner with your son, are you going steakhouse or Italian?
There's only one steakhouse that I remember forever, and it's Tony's in St. Louis. If I'm going there, yes. Otherwise, Italian. I need the authentic. I need multi-courses. I love the Italian layout and the multi-courses.
All right. So here's the next question, shifting gears, because you've been known to wear a bow tie from time to time.
Yes, sir.
All right. On a regular tie, are you a half Windsor or a full Windsor?
Because I got to be tricky with you, it's going to depend on the occasion. It's going to depend on the collar width, and it's going to depend on the material of the tie. So today I'm going a 4-in-hand on you. Formal, we'll go with the full. Not formal, we'll go half.
All right. If you're having a beverage, whatever that beverage is it neat or on the rocks?
The first kiss is neat, and then we can add a rock to let it breathe.
All right, perfect. A show you might have recently binged.
Man, I don't do it. And I've heard you ask other people this, and I've struggled with it. I just don't do it. I don't. Sorry, bud.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Last book you read?
Buy Then Build.
Buy Then Build.
Yeah, I can't recall the author's name right now, but it's the difference between starting up and acquiring. Of course, especially right now in our industry, the more acquisition you're seeing, and this gentleman's laying out the benefits of acquiring to grow versus a startup.
Okay.
It's a good read.
Making Your Bed Every Day was mine last, by the Admiral, SEAL Admiral. The term I'm going to use can be sometimes have a connotation of negative. Sometimes it can be a connotation of positive. But what's a vice that Julian has?
Yeah, my brain goes, I think of vices, and I do think of things that aren't positive, and it's a good cigar. Let's do it.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the Nexstar journey for you. And, so you get recruited from Atlanta to come to Nexstar. Tell me a little bit about how the thought process for you, what was it about it? What was the trigger points? And, most people probably don't even know that Julian's been at Nexstar for over 8 years. They're like, who's this guy? Julian. But I've seen you obviously at multiple of events, and we've had conversations. So tell me about that journey to transition from, I'm going to be in an operator position, to now going and being into a coaching and training position, and what the kind of mindset for you was like.
Thank you. The number one, it was always a goal of mine to be a coach at Nexstar. Well, not always, but from the time I became aware, I thought that was my career highlight. If I could be a coach with Nexstar, that was it. I'd ride off into the sunset. I'd be happy. So when I got the call, And this will speak to Jack's leadership. It will speak to the type of organization that Nexstar is. Got a call and he said, "Hey, Julian, I know you've created your own website and you're out there doing some coaching in Atlanta. If we have an opportunity coaching here, do I have your ear?" Of course, again, he's one of my mentors. You've got my ear. And he said, "What we've realized is that the most successful members at Nexstar are the ones who implement our strategies, our tactics, our tools." Sounds obvious, right? But there's so much knowledge out there. You can Google anything you want to know right now. And the difference is those who do and those who don't. So he said, we're creating a new role. It's called an implementation coach. And this coach is going to help our members take the very things that we work on, that we prescribe with their business coaches, and then help the team implement it. Man, this is brilliant. Why didn't I think of that?
Right.
So I saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity to serve, and I saw an opportunity to make a difference in businesses and to create a new role. So I'm going to be honest, very prideful. I go, I'm the first one. I get it. Either this department is going to grow or it's going to fall. And then Jack said, since it's new, since we're unsure, I want it close to me. I want it here. You're going to have to relocate. And then he just waited. I just said, you know what, I'll do it. And I took off up there. And part of this was, when I left Colorado for New York, when I left New York for Atlanta, when I left Atlanta for Minnesota, it's a term that I've used with one of our employees recently, is sometimes you just have to bet on yourself and you'll never lose. No matter where you end up or land, you'll never lose. So that's the mentality, is I'm thinking, once again, it's time to bet on myself. It's time to go for it. And the very first time I left Colorado, so Colorado born and raised, the very first time I was going to leave, I asked my father to go out to lunch, and I'm talking to him, and I probably talked for 30 minutes straight, pros, cons, I'm just vomiting all over the place, just, and the only thing he says right after we're done, he just goes, "Well, you can always come back." And I felt such a sense of peace when he said that. And I guess I hadn't thought of it. He's like, okay, you can always come back. And that's the thing. And then, considering Minnesota and the cultural changes and things I didn't know and the new job. But I figured I can always leave, if I don't like it. And that's the fortunate thing about the industry that we're in is, I can make money anywhere. It's a choice to be here, and a proud choice and the right choice, that to be here in Minnesota doing what I do with the group I love.
You said something that kind of gave me a thought.
Okay.
Is that, obviously Lance, our CEO, he's a few years younger than I am, but when you have mentors in your life, sometimes they believe in you before you know that you believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you see that expectation change from you being able to say, why should this person have a higher expectation of me than I do of myself? That's when it all clicks, to be able to say, I'm motivated, I'm disciplined, I'm going to make this next stage happen. Contrary to saying, you know what, I'm going to give it my all. Okay. And I'm going to take that to the next level. Did you kind of feel that way with when Jack called you up and said, I got this position? Did you kind of feel like, hey, this was a scenario where he was believing in you before you even believed in yourself?
Not in that moment. So I'm just going to be honest with you. It was in the business moments when he was coaching the business and he was watching me grow the business. There were some things and some tasks and some very candid conversations we had when I was running a business as a member, is when I realized he saw more in me. So by the time that he reached out as a coach, I was just happy to get that call and excited to get the opportunity to show him what I could do.
That's pretty crazy that, he reached out directly to you, and then obviously your career is sprouted from there. If I were to go back and say, you look at all the different positions that you had in your career, which one did you enjoy the least?
The least is early on. And I'll often remind people that I think the service manager is the hardest job in the world. You're getting hit from every angle, from customers, from employees, and ownership. I think and I've done that. And I think the one that I enjoyed the least is when I was doing that job and not knowing it, getting back into mentors. Had a mentor by the name of Ed Coleman that was with the business that was acquired. So this is way back, my early 20s. And Ed was the plumbing service manager. And as he saw the acquisition happening to our mom and pop, he knew that anybody who wasn't a revenue generator was going to be let go. And so he brought me into the office, and he started giving me all of his tasks, all of his reports. And he'd have me do all these things, but I didn't realize I was doing them to put myself in a better position. I thought I was just doing his work. And so there was a period there of about 6 to 8 months where I was very angry and I didn't like it. And then when we came and got audited by the corporation, and you would sit in a room, a small little room, no bigger than this, with two dudes in suits. And they would say, "What do you do? What are your duties?" And I would talk to them about the reports I ran, and they go, "Oh, so you're the service manager?" And I'd say, "No, I'm a CSR." "Well, what do you do again?" And I would tell them, "Oh, okay, so you're the service manager." What he had done is he'd put me in a position of knowledge to be a CSR, but I couldn't stand it. And then the other thing I couldn't, and the reason I'm using that example, because I was very upset. And then when I realized, and I got the promotion I thought I wanted, the title I thought I wanted, was after that, the thing I liked the least was advice that I got at that time from that leadership. When I brought in a customer concern, there's a form I had to fill out, and I brought it in to the person I reported to at that time. And he opened up a file cabinet that was just full of those papers. And he took it and he just threw it in. And he said, "Now, unless you have a certified letter from an attorney with one of these concerns, you don't need to worry about them anymore." And I just, that period of working through that in my conscious, being a young man, not understanding, is this how business is done? Is this what success looks like? I'm very confused because it didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. But I'm learning, I'm impressionable, and I'm saying, wow, I guess this is how we do it. That period was the worst.
Yeah, it's interesting is that when Lance started this company, we both worked at AT&T in a major corporation in America. Had 400 sales reps. We were selling a product called yellowpages.com in 2005,
Hey,
and we're going back a ways. But you know, when your customer becomes a number,
right.
right? That's when the whole loss of and we're going to talk a little bit about EMyths, in that it's about lead fulfillment, lead execution, and lead selling, but it's also about that customer interaction and taking care of that moment of truth, because that's where that raving fan is going to be created, every interaction that you have with them. And when I see organizations and companies, not just in digital or HVAC or electrical or plumbing, the customer is the end all be all paying your bills. It
Right.
just so happens in Nexstar, your customers are the members,
Yes.
and they're paying the bills as where it goes. Tell the audience a little bit about, kind of in your 8 years, the before, and where you kind of see the growth of Nexstar, and where it's kind of transcended, because I'm not sure that everybody knows about Nexstar amongst our audiences.
Very good. A little framework. Nexstar is an organization that is proprietary. It is a membership. And what I mean by that is there are rules of how many Nexstar member shops there can be in a given geographic area by population. So not only is it member owned, but it's also not it's not based on volume growth for us to succeed, to give you that context. So in the beginning, when I started 8 years ago, we probably had just a little over 20 staff members. I'm going to guess a little bit here. I think maybe around 500 members across the nation. Today, we are approaching 90 staff members, almost 900 um, members across the states and North America, some Australian also as well. So shout out, hey guys.
And the Caymans.
We have a Cayman for sure, which everybody
Yep.
wants to go visit and look at his inventory and help him out, but they got to do it in person for some reason.
Chuck's a great
Uh,
guy. Chuck's a great
yeah,
guy.
he is, man. He's a good man, good man. And of course, our Canadians, who I love as well, just was on a call with them earlier. But we may not be as impressive in the membership numbers. It's like, wow, we're going on 30 years here. How do you only have almost 900 members? And so, what I want to speak to is your question of what I saw and then what I see. What I saw was tremendous growth under Jack Tester. What he did is he really helped us refine, things like the implementation coach, which was feedback that came from our board of directors, which came from the members. The reason I was on a call with Canadians earlier, we were on a virtual call, is we do what's called a roundtable, and we survey our membership and we say, stop, start, continue. What should Nexstar stop doing? What should we start doing? What should we do more of or less of? And that's where this idea came from. So once again, our growth and everything about us comes from our network, people sharing. So we're a very special place. So Jack grew the business. He really helped us understand and survey and look at the membership and see what they needed and help grow their businesses. And now as I look forward, and this is my vision of Nexstar in the future, is that we will not, we're going to hit a point where it's possible that we may close off. We may not add any new members. And what I look forward to is a more engaged membership, that members are using our services, that they're leaning into us. Recently just took a peek that Our engaged members, we have an engagement score for each of our members that show the percentage of our services that they use. Our members that are 78% or higher in their engagement with us have 100% more growth year over year than those who are not. And I think with us being proprietary, with us being special, I think that members who are not engaged, and current members hear this clearly, and I say this with love, if you're not engaged in the coming years, you probably need to get out. If you're not going to use the services, squatting on a territory, you need to go. But it's simple. Just get engaged and stay. But that's what I see for the future here, is that we continue to provide more services, to be more accessible, to be more streamlined for our members. And it's not a volume-based growth here. It's a service-oriented, serving our members. My bosses, the membership, their growth. And that's what I foresee for us.
What you said something before, you talked about the transition for where it is to where it's going.
Okay.
And you said a key word, a very key word, and that is sharing.
Mm.
Okay. I tell my 5-year-old daughter always says, sharing is caring, Dad. Sharing is caring. And I've never seen an organization or a group of individuals that are so open to being able to say, hey, you want to come and look at my shop, right? And I'm going to showcase to you what we do really well so that you can take it back. Where do you think that, because that's not just like one member or two members, that is the entire community
Yes.
of Nexstar saying, come on in, I'll open my books up, I'll show you what's going on, I'll show you what I'm doing. Where do you think that part of the Nexstar member community culture, how do you think that came about? And I have to believe that's a big impact moving forward.
It is. It is. It's our DNA. It's our identity. It's who we are. It's our genealogy from our founder, Frank Blau. So any research you do on Frank Blau, if you just Google it up, look it up and look backwards. But this is what he did. Frank Blau ran a plumbing company and wanted to be the world's greatest out of Milwaukee. But what he did in his spare time, once he was successful, had a successful business, he believed it was his calling to help raise up the industry. So he would go around doing seminars. He would invite people to these seminars. He would show his tax returns to show these boys how to get their prices right. First off, he's always going to start there with number one, you're not priced right, and helped us become more savvy and intelligent business owners and leaders in that way. Operators, from turning the wrench to understanding the numbers, fall in love with your numbers is what he taught us. But what he did is when he would hold these seminars, he would invite people and he would say, bring your inventory sheet, bring your yellow page ads, bring your truck layout, bring everything. Because then there's going to be a portion after I yell at you for a bit, which Frank was good at, getting everybody in line and in check. Then we're going to share. And that's just what we do. That's what we do. And when so that's the spirit. But then even when he started Nexstar, Frank has never owned Nexstar. There is no owner of Nexstar. He had this concept, went out and found a young Jack Tester and said, I need you to start this organization. You're the guy. So again, talk about seeing somebody bigger than themselves, what Frank saw in Jack and what Jack took the ball and ran with. So it's in our DNA from the very beginning. It's been about share and get out. Success through education and sharing was one of our early mottos, and we still repeat it. So it's in our DNA. And being member owned, again, is the other reason. I could understand. I was talking with a potential strategic partner. Some people use the word buying group or vendor. At Nexstar, we like the word strategic partner because we really want to partner with them in a different way. And so we had a prospective partner talking with me, and they were concerned about sharing some information. They said, well, it has some IP in there. And I said, look, I understand where you're coming. They said, maybe you've had bad experiences with other vendors. I said, well, no, it's not from that. We're different than any other organization that you're going to create a partnership or a vendor deal with, in that we are 100% responsible to our members. And so we want to know every line in the contract. We really want to get it, because we have no leverage in understanding your business better, because we're never going to take and turn it. We will never be sold. We will always be member owned. So we're operating from a place of protecting our member versus trying to get leverage on a partner or understand their technology. And it was a beautiful conversation. I feel like I got a little off track there.
No,
but
not at all. Not at all.
That's the culture. That's who we are.
Because it is part of the culture. Like I've never seen anything like it, where competitors in a marketplace are willing to share ideas with one another. And like every other industry that's out there, there isn't that openness to say, I'm going to partner with this guy, I'm going to partner with this guy, and I'm going to partner with this guy. And I believe that, there's enough business to go around that we can all gain something from the way that somebody else is doing it to make our organization better. I like to say, if we reviewed as much as we, and our retention rate amongst the Nexstar community is at 96%. And I cherish that every single day. Okay. And there was one member, and Brad K. Spear gave me some advice when we came back in 3.5 years ago. And Brad's a evil scientist amongst TV ads.
Great man, great business.
Okay. He
Yeah.
said to me, look for long-term organic growth, not being a flash in the pan. And I've treasured that piece of information because it hit so home to say, if you do the right thing over a period of time, you're going to last 10 times longer in the process. So, there's just, when you talk about some of the members that are out there, even though that I'm a partner, a strategic partner, some of them have become mentors for me. To see a guy taking his business from, I can name hundreds of them, but to take it from 2 million in revenue to 30 million, or to go from 10 million to 44 million, that is something that I look back and say, what can we gain from that? What can we gain from their culture? What can we gain from their execution? Can we be disciplined in the functionalities that they have? Their widget is heating and air conditioning. Their business is people. And so we try to really look and say, some of these individuals that, he runs a heating and air conditioning company. No, he runs a $100 million heating and air conditioning company. He is a mentor of mine, and you look at and I'll kind of shift, but you look at Gerber. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. He just happens to be obviously very heavy to the home services, but it is about lead generation. It is about lead fulfillment, and it is about lead execution. And if you take care of those three things, the rest of the people's sales and profit fall into line. What's interesting to me is there does seem to be a gap, and I would like to get your opinion on it, because all this sharing, all this information, right? And in 2020 was exponential growth for the home services business, exponential growth like we'd never seen before because of this pandemic, becoming an essential worker. Why do you think that the gaps are out there between the good operators to the great companies? What is it that you could talk to the audience about that's going to help that guy that's saying, hey, I'm in a good place.
Yep.
But I can go to a great place. And what's the differential in those operators that you see that?
I'm very fortunate to have the case study of over 800 members. And I want to close the loop too here, actually, as you triggered a thought for me. Nexstar has a 95.5 retention rate as well. So when I talk about we're not volume-based, we are very focused on retention as well. The gaps that I see, the gaps that I've seen, and the gaps that I've experienced personally at lower revenue numbers, I think all through your entire journey, it is my belief, self-discipline. There's no one harder to lead than yourself. Okay, it's easy to tell other people what they're doing right or wrong. I do it every day, and I have some direct reports, and they go, "Oh, I didn't see that," and I go, "It's okay. From the sideline, I can see everything." But it's really that self leadership that's difficult. It's it's being on time. It's being consistent. It's being thoughtful. It's considering your position and the perspective it creates. So that's going to permeate no matter the level. But it's highly critical in the beginning, and even tying back to something you said earlier about motivation. Yeah, there's a higher level of motivation at the lower revenue levels that you have to be the source of all energy. You have to be the decision maker, and you've got to make a decision quick. You have to be the source of all energy. You have to be the end all be all. And as you grow, and if you're going to grow, you have to start to develop a leadership team. So that's next. Who's the team? Who are you developing next? Who are you identifying, and why? Are you placing people in the right seat on the bus? Are they facing the right direction? There's so many small nuances to the people placement. As you said, it's a people business, not just the customer, not just the end receiver, but those who help you deliver, those that you rally. You can, change your team and follow the leader in a certain way. And one of the highest compliments I got in my progression at Nexstar, it's going to sound a little weird. It was said as a compliment. I take it as a compliment. As I was moving into the operations role, the vice president role, I was told that in every position I held, that I had always been seen as very subordinate, meaning that all my disagreements were behind closed doors. And as soon as we said, this is the direction we're going, I was lockstep with you when that door opened. And that even came up again as Jack and I were talking about my succession into a CEO role, that I had been subordinate. There were things that we didn't agree on, but they weren't salvation issues. So we moved forward. I'm saying all of this to say, what are the gaps? The gaps are a few things. So now I've talked about building that team. Then once you've built a team, the business can grow. And then you need to start looking at succession. You need to start looking at other planning. But the things behind that are communication, the conversations. The conversation is the relationship. And even a failed conversation is better than no conversation. And there are some things as a leader that you cannot abdicate. There are some things that only you can do, some conversations that only you can have. And I'm talking to some of you out there that are now feeling a little bit self-persecuted, and you need to dig into this. You need to think about it. You need to be the person that has that conversation. You need to be the person that walks and models the way. And if there's a time where you can't or shouldn't, and I'll talk to some of our members, business owners, and me personally, when it comes to Nexstar, I will recruit coaches, trainers, anybody. I get out there. I'm very passionate about the business, and I believe I can articulate it as a former member, coach, trainer, VP, CEO. I have a lot of perspectives I'd like to share. But there's some business owners out there you shouldn't be recruiting. You probably shouldn't even be talking to the people that are applying. And if that's the case, you probably shouldn't be in the day-to-day operation. Okay, so if you're not tempered enough to understand your strengths and limitations, you really need to check yourself and check your growth. And that's the gaps I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm just speaking from my perspective, my beliefs. When I see those gaps, when I see somebody who's unaware of their arrogance or ego, that you are starting to create a culture of transaction. I'm not saying your business won't grow. I'm not saying that you won't be successful by the dollars, but you're creating a transactional relationship where everyone's first question is, what's in it for me? And as long as you can keep paying them, they're going to hang around. But if you're truly willing to be introspective and do that self work, if you're truly willing to promote others and create a team and let them delegate. Another lesson that I got from Jack once as I moved into the VP role, I'm sure lamenting about a strategy that we were about to initiate, and I didn't think it was up to par. I thought it could be a little bit better. And he said, okay, how many people are on that team? And I'm just going to make this up. There's 3 people on that team. He said, Julian, what I'm hearing you tell me is that you could make this a 10. And the 3 people on that team are all bringing a 7. And he said, I just always want you to remember that their 3 sevens beat your 10. And I thought about that. And so it's not, sometimes you hear, give people ownership so they feel empowered, all these things, but in real life, that's really what it is. Plus I don't have the bandwidth or the energy. If I'm giving 10 in one area, I could have never become a VP. If I kept giving 10, I could never become a CEO. What am I going to give 10 in today? And now as you move up as business leaders, what you're giving 10 in is decision-making and modeling. So are you making discerned judgments? Are you making them timely? And are you expressing the why? So that gets back to the communication piece. But are you modeling it also? Are you modeling the behavior that you say you demand? Would you answer that customer call if it got concerned to the point where your managers and everybody in your leadership team that you've empowered believes you need to take the call? Will you still take it? And if you won't, what is the model that you're setting? So I can go on for days there. So I definitely need to pause.
When you said, no, that's all right. I think I love hearing it. And I know that our audience is going to love hearing it. When you said the word subordinate, the word that came to me was servant.
Yes.
And having a servant leadership. And anybody that's read Greenleaf's book really truly understands, probably not the book that's going to keep you up at night reading it, because it's pretty heavy thinking. But the fact of the matter is, the more you serve as a leader, the more you'll get in return. And I was thinking servant when you said subordinate. So, and I think they're very much interchangeable as far as where they are. But, it's interesting when you look at leadership as a whole. I think you have to be self-aware.
Yes.
Of what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And you kind of touched on that earlier. For me, and I heard you say something in our pre-call, was the be dumb fast movement. I was wondering if you could enlighten our audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, please join me in the Be Dumb Fast movement. I think it would help, especially if this happened on social media, which I won't go into because that's a one-way megaphone. But, it just, even today on a phone call, I just said, hey guys, I'm ignorant about something, tell me if you drop an acronym or you say something and you, especially when you imply like I understand it in context, just raise your hand quick. Excuse me, I didn't understand that. And that's all Be Dumb Fast is. It's just please stop nodding your head, pretending like you know. And I'm passionate about this because for so many years, again, being a high school dropout, being a kid from the streets and starting to get moved into management positions and then getting larger roles. And it's like, oh gosh, if these people find out who I am and where I come from, I'm not going to get another opportunity. It was that fear. So then I didn't want to, and I think that's what created my veracity for reading, for researching. I'm an avid learner. And it came from a fear of I'm not going to fit in, or they're going to find out and I'm not going to get another opportunity. And then I found out that there's a real grace and a real freeing in just being dumb fast and going, I didn't understand that. Can you repeat it? And I don't mind going, hey, I'm probably the slowest one on this call. Could you back that up for me and help me walk through this? And most people are very graceful about it and help you out.
Um, and kind of and continuing on in that, you talked a little bit as it applies to companies and their development of companies as far as where they are in the mix. And you come out and you have that owner that is doing everything and he's being everything, and having a need for a coach in their lives.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about what you believe in the difference between coaching and being a consultant? And do they kind of intertwine between one another, that you need to have those in your life as a business owner?
For sure. I'll use my terminology. So my definitions that I've made up. I was very fortunate as a younger man to also, I did a lot of football coaching, was around professional coaches and learned a lot. And there's just so much that you see from the sideline, or the box is the term I'll use. And when I say the box, there's just a seat on a football field that's up above the stands where you can see the whole field. So you have your sideline view and you have your box view. And that's why you see these coaches walk around with headsets, because they're constantly communicating. And so there's so much that you can see. And then there's the player's view. And let's get back to talk about running business. If you don't ask the players, what are you seeing? What are you noticing? If you're constantly telling them something, but they're not believing it because they see it differently from their perspective, you've got to get into that. So coaching versus consulting. Consulting, I would say, is in the sport of football, explaining the rules, that we have 4 attempts to move the ball 10 yards in that direction. Okay, so that's consulting. That's just the facts. That's what we need to know. Coaching to me is that vested interest in the person and asking questions. Okay, what are you noticing now? I know I've asked you to block left, and every time I've asked you that, you're getting beat. So what are you noticing? What do you see there? And so to me, in my language and definition, coaching is asking questions so I can get to the root. Consulting are just the facts that I have experience or education on, that you're never going to get through asking questions. Coaching to me is asking questions, get understanding, get perspective, make sure we're getting to the root. And then consulting is, okay, I've got enough information now. Now I can be very prescriptive and help you out. So I think you need both. I truly do.
And that is something that Nexstar does give to their members, is both coaching and consultants.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we won't hire people without the industry knowledge specific to the trades that we serve, which is residential, plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical. So you've got to have that experience, because you have to be able to consult. But we do truly ask that everyone start every call by coaching and finish with consulting. So, here's what I heard. And then, here's the action items, and what will you do? And then we transfer ownership.
I talk to a lot of different home service businesses. Do you ever see Nexstar being able to be in a situation and they'll take on additional verticals?
I don't know.
I
know
Is that a member? Could that be a member-driven initiative? Or
it hasn't. And you nailed it. And that's why I pause and reflect on that so much. When some members do successfully add other verticals, and it takes that leadership team, it takes that broad organization chart and the correct leaders. So yes, you could. The majority of our membership, though, still has so much more to gain. You talked about multi $100 million businesses that are members of ours, and they have maybe an 11% market share in their area. So they're just going in the trades that they're already doing, and they're saying, why would I take my eye off the ball? And I'll be honest with you, that influences me so much to think the same way. So sure, we could, but then that starts to feel more like a volume play than a value play. And we've been served well by the value play versus the volume.
What's interesting is that, I am talking to a lot of members that they are telling me that this is the hottest time for them, not in their business growth, but in the M&A aspect.
Yep.
And tell me a little bit from your perspective, how have you seen like the VC money that came into this particular vertical of heating, air, plumbing, and electrical in the last 18 months is like something I don't know that I've seen in the last 20 years.
No.
I don't think probably you've seen it. Why do you think that's happened?
Investment security. The stock market is vulnerable. And now we know that every other industry is vulnerable. So, there's a term like recession proof or pandemic proof. You'll even hear things like essential. Yeah, here we go, guys. Again, I'm gonna get a little blunt, hit you heavy real quick. You're gonna die if we don't exist. And that's just the facts. Okay. Because if we don't have clean water, you're gonna die. If you can't get air conditioning in certain areas. So this is a life or death, safety, health situation. Okay. So now I'm an investor. So now I'm, private equity simply means money from private people. And they're saying, where can I put it to get a return? And what they've realized is, I can invest in sexy, fun, sleek things like a VC and go after technology, or I can invest in the blocking and tackling and the health and the safety of our community. And that's what we are. And now then you find these well-run businesses, because if you're in garage doors, if you're in windows, if you're in roofing, these things aren't going anywhere. You all are highly valuable. You're needed. So whatever the home services are that you're providing, please know that you're needed, and your job cannot be automated. It cannot be outsourced. Nobody overseas can do it. A robot cannot do it. We are in a very sweet spot of owning the last mile. Okay, now back to why this money is coming in. Again, it's the security of the investment. If I'm looking for something with a great return that's stable, and to your point, now our industry has spent decades now, thanks to Frank Blau, thanks to others. George Brazil definitely deserves a shout out, and our other founders, but even others in other verticals that looked at the E-myth and said, okay, let's take the world's best tradespeople and make them the world's best business people. And now these private equity dollars are jumping in just at our prime. I mean, we were an ugly kid and we didn't get asked to dance, but boy, did we mature, and we are super sexy now.
I think that is the word that I've heard many people say about this space. It's become sexy. Mm-hmm. And when you think about a plumber, those two words weren't going together at one point in time, yeah. Plumber and sexy. But business wise, it's extremely sexy when a business is making a net income of 23% right. on 100 million versus that restaurant that was right. doing 3%.
Where else are you going to get this return? You're not going to get it.
So, obviously Jack was the initial face, but you're the new face of Nexstar. Tell me a little bit about what do you've talked a little bit about engagement, being more engaged as a member. Is that where your kind of dreams for the growth of the organization is to say, I want 900 super engaged members to be the way that we as an organization go from here on out?
I do. I think that's the move. And I think that's, again, getting back to the growth that we've seen from our engaged members versus those who aren't. I only say it out of your own benefit. I read a proverb today and it just says, the child who doesn't like discipline is not loved or is wayward. And of course, I'm paraphrasing, and I'm using discipline in form of engagement, just saying a lot of our services really are telling you where the warts are. We really are telling you what you can be better at. But if you're willing to seek that counsel, and I would even offer that I've gotten to where I'm at in life, and not saying that I'm something to strive for. I'm just saying anything I've had that's worth value is by listening to correction, to listening to sound advice. And that's really what I mean by when I say engaged. Get dialed in, get engaged. And let's say that we did get tight. Let's say we short up at 900 fully engaged members. Then we could only provide more services to you because you're only going to continue to grow. And I'll add more coaches for you, more trainers, more classes, whatever it is that you need to keep growing these essential, foundational, beautiful businesses that create more jobs in your community, that create more stability, and again, protect our safe health and wellness. Then I'm all in. And that's what I know that we have. And I know that's what we can do.
It's interesting. I've, being now a member for over 3.5 years, our partner over 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. I've had the opportunity to go to super meeting, leadership training, or leadership shows.
Yeah.
And when I think about some of the keynote speakers that you get for your members, like Jocko, Marcus Luttrell, you could go down the line, Patrick Lencioni,
John Maxwell.
We
had Jim Collins. We had Jim Collins take the stage with our coaches.
So, you look at that.
Gino Wickman.
If there's a business that's not probably involved in traction, at some point in time, I'd be shocked. But these businesses, and I don't say these trades, these businesses engage their business the right way.
Yeah.
One of, I think, my concerns, and I'd be curious to see if it's a concern for you, is that the industry as a whole is having a challenge with finding the next generation.
Mm.
All right. Where do you kind of see that evolving? Do you see it becoming like, I could tell you this, if I knew about HVAC sales 20 years ago and what I saw on my call earlier, my calling would have changed in a heartbeat.
Right.
You know, when I saw a 28-year-old making the type of money that's in the space. And I just don't think people have a knowledge of it. You know, the venture capitalist does, but I don't think the guy in high school knows it. And that's where, when we work with members, we're trying to say, how do we get that next generation? What kind of advice would you give to our audience to say, here's what I would look at for the next generation that's going to help you grow your business from the 2.5 million to the 9 million, but you need the people to do it.
Right. It starts with a very basic quote of hire for attitude and teach the skill. You've got to start forming relationships. You have to start building your own. Our trades specifically are a little tough. I know that there are other trades that don't have the licensing restrictions that we do, and that's for safety purposes. So, I'm not saying anything ill towards licensing restrictions, but it's a restriction in meaning in the ability to rapidly acquire a new workforce. You match that with, the boomers walking away from businesses and jobs. So that's the other thing why private equity loves is there is no other time in life where more businesses will be changing hands. So let's sprinkle that in than there is now. And then they're also a big part of our workforce. So the successful members, just like Jack told me when he talked about the implementation coach role, and he said, what we see the successful members do, that's where I'm going to speak from. Not really it is my opinion, but based on what I've seen, is what we see our successful members do is they really are there building their budgets. So again, stop whining, stop crying about this issue, get off your butt, do something local, get out there, start talking to young people, work with the young people, bring them in and pay them while you train them. Should I pay somebody while they're in training? Because I'm already putting all this on. Like, what are you talking about right now? You're investing is what you're doing. Have you ever invested something that's very valuable, and then 10 years later, it was worth 100 times what you invested in it? That's what this will be. So what I see the successful members do is you have to, and here's the other thing. We have a sister organization called Explore the Trades. So if you need any help, this is not exclusive to Nexstar members. Go to Explore the Trades. If you're in the residential plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical, we will give you any of the resources that help you with parents, with guidance counselors, with the military, and with the youth. And even when I talk with them, I feel very strongly that guidance counselors and parents are great, and that's such a long game. I don't sweat it, because here's my question. When you were in high school, how much weight did you put on what your guidance counselor or your parents said? I know I personally didn't listen to any of it. So I think we need to start going straight to the end user. We need to go straight to these young people. We need to show them the graphics. We have all kinds of beautiful things on there for you to use. Take it, download it, and it shows there is no shorter career path to ownership. Well, there may be, excuse me, but I'm getting excited. The path from entry level in our industry to ownership of one of these businesses is going to be quick. And here's the other reason why PE should be excited, why I'm excited. Here's my fear, Bill. Prophetic, I hope not, but I think so. It's about to be the wild, wild west. As we start to have the technicians retire and the demand rise, homeowners right now, I challenge you to call for any service at your home right now. And of the reputable businesses, see how far out they're booked. And here's what I mean by the wild, wild west. What's going to happen is young entrepreneurial people are going to see this, and they're going to start creating businesses that are not licensed in our trades because you can't get the response time you're used to. And so now you're going to start to see the sexiness emerge of, oh, here it is, like a .com type of burst. You have a ton of people running after it who can't do it right, getting into it. So what should you do? You should go straight to the end user, start talking to the people about this now. Compensate them beyond their wildest dreams. Stop pinching pennies. Again, it's an investment. Educate them, invest in them. And guess what? Have conversations early on and ask them, someday, do you want to be a business owner? Stop thinking that the technician you're hiring today needs to be held to your business forever. Because what can happen, again, this is a very Nexstar mentality. Do you ever want to run a business? Okay, well, how about I teach you what it took and I'll show you the path. You can work for me for 5, 7 years, whatever it takes for you to learn the business. I'll take you through the progression. I'll be your mentor when you start your business, because I would much rather know my competitor than have somebody come out of the woods in the dark. And then we have a high level of respect and community. And that's what I'd love to see. And boy, you really got me going on that one. So thank you, Bill.
No, I appreciate that. It's interesting. And not just because I'm a partner, because I've seen it work. Do I buy into what I hear
Mm.
the coaches from, Nick and
Mm.
Alicia and Melanie and,
Mm.
everybody that I've had an involvement, from Susan Tigner to Janet Wapinski,
Yes, sir.
to every member that's out there, from the business coaches to the trainers. There's a process that Nexstar has, and I buy into it. And what I feel like is that when I'm having a conversation and I say to a member that might be coming to us, or that we're talking, hey, have you done your marketing wizard? And they say no. I say, why? Like, why haven't you engaged with something that works?
It works.
Okay, that
We've
works.
proven it.
That it works for your business.
Right.
And, the person that the very first Nexstar member that came on board, Pete and Alicia Green, Go Green Plumbing, Greensboro,
Yeah.
North Carolina, they've embraced that process. And I've watched their business like grow. They're not just a client. They're friends.
Yeah,
And you
man.
build that relationship. And I'm out of the 900 members that are across the board that all know you and touch base with you, and you've watched their growth. And the thing I tell to people is, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to make it run smoother to what your liking is, because somebody else showed you the path, And so we like to do something here. It's called the final roar, that we get to kind of allow you to scream from the mountaintops what it is that in 30 seconds, minute, and I know you could go on
Okay.
for another 30 minutes,
I
but
won't.
what would be the thing you would tell our audience, that home service-based business, that they need to do now and focus on as an organization for growth?
I think I am going to 1A and 1B you. So
Okay.
first I'll apologize
I'm
for that.
good
But
with
first,
it. I'm good with it.
yeah, first is technology. You just stop running from it. I do see a bit of that in the home service space. We don't have to run to it as the holy grail, but also don't run from it. Be aware, become astute, make great partnerships, learn, and be done quick. Just say, I don't know, I don't understand, how would this work? How wouldn't it? And get counsel from others and beta test it. So technology first and foremost. I just always want to say that, because even us as an organization, we're learning and growing there. But I will tell you, you influenced me if I'm going to talk about what to roar on here. And what I want to roar about here is the process. As a young call center manager, there was a business owner, not my boss, the owner, called me into his office one day, and he said, how's the weekly team meetings going? And I said, oh, there's nothing new this week, so I didn't have a team meeting. And he said, okay, interesting. Now, at the same time, he knew that I had an internship. I was interning with the Denver Broncos, and he knew that football was very important to me. I honestly thought that might have been my profession, to go into football coaching. He said, oh, so hey, I heard you've been, doing those Bronco practices. Oh, so then I lit up. Then I got very excited. Oh, yeah, let me tell you about it. And he goes, okay. And I worked with the offensive lineman. And he said, well, tell me what you guys do at practice. He said, just really take me into the details. I've never been. Tell me what a professional does. I said, well, we start every day with our line drills. Okay, what's a line drill? Well, the first thing we do is our footwork. Because a line person, for those of you that watch football, you'll see the guys like this with their hands, but you win with your feet. So the first thing we do is you actually put your hands behind your back and you just take a little step. And it might be an 8-inch step, might be a 12-inch step, depending on the play that we're calling. And we just want to see your step. And we'll say 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, just your first 3 steps over and over and over again. Then you can incorporate your hands. Then we might bring the ball over. Then we might bring the other players. And he said, oh, wow. He said, so you're telling me that these professionals that have been playing this sport since Pee-wee, since they were kids, they still go over the fundamentals every practice, every week? And do they ever skip a practice? Do they ever skip or change? And I looked at him, I said, I'll get that meeting rescheduled for this week. The fundamentals.
That is awesome. And I think that you had said something to me earlier that I'm going to add to it, is a bad one-on-one is better than no one-on-one.
That's it.
Julian, thank you so much. I truly enjoyed the hour that we've spent together. I know that you've given some great advice to our listeners, and
thank you. I
really appreciate the time, and I look forward to seeing you in Marco Island.
Yeah, you will. And thank you for the opportunity. I want to encourage everybody in home services out there, clean off your mane, get your fangs out, get out there and roar, because we are needed and you're important. And if you don't believe it, call me. I'll pump you up. Let's get to work.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to follow me at Lance Bachmann on Instagram and Twitter. Follow me on Facebook at Lance Bachmann Digital. And every Thursday we drop a new podcast. Don't forget to listen to it. We're giving out great content. And remember this is the time to build your business right now. Let's effing go, everybody.